Life had never been easy for Mia Thompson. A single mother in her early 30s, she had spent years juggling two jobs just to keep food on the table for her 6-year-old son, Liam. Ever since her husband walked out on them, every day had been a battle for survival. She lived in a rundown apartment on the outskirts of the city. The walls were thin, the rent was high, and the struggle was endless. But through it all, she kept going for Liam. One cold November evening, Mia rushed out of the small diner where she worked the late shift. The air was crisp, and the city lights flickered like distant stars. Clutching her thin coat around her, she hurried toward the bus stop, exhausted but eager to get home to her son. That was when she saw him, a frail old man, sitting alone on the bench, shivering under the streetlight. His clothes were tattered, his shoes barely held together, and his eyes held a sorrow too deep for words. Mia hesitated. She had her own problems. Helping a stranger was the last thing she needed, but something about him made her stop. She stepped closer. "Sir, are you okay? Do you need help?" The old man looked up, his voice barely above a whisper. I'm lost. I don't remember where I live." Mia's heart clenched. She knew what it was like to feel lost. She sighed and glanced at the empty streets before sitting down beside him. "It's too cold to be out here alone. Do you have any family I can call?" The old man shook his head. "No family. No one left." Mia bit her lip. She didn't have the heart to leave him there. After a moment of hesitation, she made a decision. "Come with me. It's not much, but I have a couch you can rest on for the night." The old man's eyes widened, as if kindness was something he hadn't seen in years. "Thank you, child. You have a good heart." Liam was fast asleep when Mia and the old man arrived. She laid out a blanket on the couch and handed him a cup of tea. "Thank you, dear. You remind me of someone," the old man murmured, taking a sip. Mia smiled, but exhaustion weighed her down. "Get some rest. We'll figure things out in the morning." Little did she know, that night would change everything. The next morning, Mia woke up to the smell of something unfamiliar. She rushed to the kitchen to find the old man making breakfast, eggs, toast, and coffee. "You didn't have to do this," she said, touched by the gesture. He chuckled. "It's the least I can do after you gave me shelter." Liam peeked around the corner, rubbing his sleepy eyes. "Mommy, who is he?" Mia hesitated. "This is our new friend. He needed some help." The old man kneeled down to Liam's height. "Hello, young man. My name is Henry." Liam grinned. "Hi, Henry. Do you like cartoons?" Henry laughed, his deep wrinkles softening. "I haven't watched cartoons in a long time." For the first time in years, Mia felt warmth in her home. But that was only the beginning. As the days passed, Henry became a part of their little world. He helped Mia with chores, told Liam bedtime stories, and even gave her advice on life struggles. He had an air of wisdom about him, a presence that was both comforting and mysterious. But Mia couldn't shake the feeling that there was something he wasn't telling them. One evening, as they sat together after dinner, she finally asked, "Henry, do you remember anything about your past? Anything at all?" Henry's face darkened. "Memories come and go, but some things never leave your heart." Mia watched him carefully. "Like what?" He hesitated before finally saying, "Regret." That night, Mia searched online, trying to find any missing persons reports that matched Henry's description. But there was nothing. Then, just as she was about to give up, an old newspaper article caught her eye. The headline made her heart stop. "Wealthy business mogul goes missing after tragic loss, presumed dead." And beneath it, a photograph of a much younger Henry. Mia's hands trembled. Who was he really? And why had he been living on the streets? The next morning, she confronted him. "Henry, I need you to be honest with me. Are you Henry Whitmore, the man from this article?" Henry's expression was unreadable. For a long moment, he said nothing. Then, finally, he exhaled. "Yes." Mia's mind raced. Henry Whitmore was a billionaire who had vanished decades ago after his family perished in a plane crash. He had walked away from his empire, disappearing into the world like a ghost. But why? Mia whispered. His voice was hoarse. Because money couldn't bring back what I lost. I walked away from everything. I let the world believe I was dead. Mia sat down, overwhelmed. Henry, do you know what this means? You could have anything. A home, a life, a chance to help people. Henry looked at her with deep gratitude. I have all I need. You saved me, Mia. You gave me something no amount of money ever could. Family. Tears filled Mia's eyes. A few weeks later, Henry made a decision. He reached out to his former associates and reclaimed his identity. But instead of returning to his old life, he did something unexpected. He transferred a fortune into Mia's name. Mia's breath hitched. Henry, I can't accept this. He took her hands. Yes, you can. You gave me a home when I had nothing. Now I'm giving you a future. With Henry's help, Mia opened a community center for struggling families, ensuring that no one would have to fight alone as she once had. As for Henry, he finally found peace. Not in wealth, but in the love of the family he had gained. But their happiness was short-lived. One evening, Mia received a call from an unknown number. A voice, cold and demanding, echoed through the line. Mia Thompson, you have something that doesn't belong to you. She swallowed hard. Who is this? Let's just say, I know who Henry Whitmore really is. And I want what's mine. Mia's world spun. Who was after them? And how far would they go to take Henry and his fortune away? A shadowy figure watched her apartment from across the street. He hung up the phone and smirked. Game on. Mia's hands trembled as she stared at her phone. The call had ended, but the chill in the air remained. A shadowy figure lurked outside, and the peace she had found with Henry was now under threat. She peeked through the curtains, her heart pounding. The figure across the street stood motionless, watching. Then, as if sensing her gaze, he turned and disappeared into the night. Mia paced back and forth, gripping her phone. Henry sat on the couch, concern etched on his face. What did they say? He asked, his voice calm but tense. She hesitated before repeating the words. They know who you are, and they want what's theirs. Henry's expression darkened. It was only a matter of time. Mia frowned. What do you mean? Who could be after you? Henry sighed and leaned back, rubbing his temples. When I left my fortune behind, I didn't just vanish. I left behind a company, a legacy. There were people who weren't happy about it, some who felt I had abandoned them. Like who? Mia pressed. My business partner, Richard Vaughn. He always had an eye on my empire. If he suspects I'm alive, he won't stop until he takes back everything I left behind. Henry's voice was low, filled with old regret. A knock at the door startled them both. Mia jumped, instinctively pulling Liam closer. Henry moved toward the door cautiously and peered through the peephole. A young woman stood outside, her eyes scanning the hallway nervously. She was dressed in a long trench coat, her hair pulled back in a tight bun. She looked over her shoulder as if being followed. Henry Whitmore, she whispered through the door. I need to talk to you. It's about Richard Vaughn. Henry stiffened. Without a word, he opened the door slightly. Who are you? The woman glanced behind her once more before stepping inside. My name is Emily Carter. I used to work for your company. Richard Vaughn is coming after you, and he's not alone. Mia handed Emily a cup of tea, her mind racing. Tell us everything. Emily took a shaky breath. Richard Vaughn has spent years searching for proof that you were still alive. When you vanished, he slowly took over your company, pushing out anyone loyal to you. Now, with you back, he's afraid you'll reclaim what's yours. He's determined to make sure that never happens. Henry's face was grim. So, he sent someone to threaten Mia? Emily nodded. And he won't stop there. He has people everywhere, watching you. He's dangerous, Henry. If you want to protect Mia and Liam, you need to disappear again." Mia shook her head. "No, we're not running. We need to fight back." Henry looked at her, something like admiration flashing in his eyes. "And how do you propose we do that?" Mia thought for a moment before replying. "We expose him. If Richard Vaughn has been operating in the shadows, taking over your empire illegally, there has to be evidence. We find it. We take it public." Emily hesitated, then nodded. "There is something. I have files. Proof of shady deals, hidden assets, offshore accounts. If we can get it into the right hands, we might have a chance." Henry exhaled. "Then we don't have much time. Richard Vaughn will strike soon. We need to be ready." Mia squared her shoulders. "Then let's take him down." The man who had been watching from the street picked up his phone and dialed. "Boss, they know. They're planning something." A deep, gravelly voice on the other end chuckled darkly. "Good. Let them try. They won't see what's coming." The night was still, but the air felt charged with unseen danger. Inside Mia's apartment, tension gripped them like a vice. The looming threat of Richard Vaughn had changed everything. Mia glanced at Liam, sleeping peacefully on the couch. She clenched her fists. She had spent years fighting to protect her son, and she wasn't about to let a corrupt billionaire take that away. Emily set her cup down, her hands trembling. "We don't have much time. Richard will act soon. He won't let you reclaim what's yours, Henry." Henry rubbed his temples. "He thinks he owns everything, but he's not untouchable." Mia leaned forward. "Then we use the files. We take them public. He won't be able to hide once his crimes are out in the open." Emily hesitated. "It's not that simple. Richard has people everywhere. If we make the wrong move, he'll silence us before we can expose him." Henry sighed, deep in thought. "Then we need help. Someone powerful enough to counter him." Mia frowned. "Who?" The camera pans across a mahogany desk covered in confidential files. A man sits behind it, his face shadowed. He picks up his phone. "Henry Whitmore? I never thought I'd hear that name again." Henry's voice is steady. "We need your help, Daniel. Richard Vaughn is making his move." The man leans forward. "I've been waiting for this. Meet me tomorrow. We'll take him down." The shadowy figure in the car receives a message. "They're making a move. What are your orders?" A reply comes swiftly. "Stop them. By any means necessary." Mia, Henry, and Emily arrive at the meeting location, a secluded warehouse. As they step inside, the lights flicker. A sense of unease washes over them. Then, the door slams shut. Henry's voice sharpens. "It's a trap." Footsteps echo through the warehouse. Men in suits emerge from the shadows, their expressions cold. A slow clap rings out. Richard Vaughn steps into view, smirking. "You should have stayed hidden, Henry." Mia steps forward. "You won't get away with this. We have the evidence." Richard chuckles. "Evidence means nothing when you control the game. And I always win." The room erupts into chaos. Henry shoves Mia behind him as the men advance. Emily clutches a flash drive, the only proof they have. A voice rings out from the entrance. "Not this time, Richard." Daniel and his team storm in, weapons drawn. The tables turn in an instant. Richard's smirk fades. "This isn't over." Daniel steps forward. "Oh, I think it is." As Richard is taken away, Mia turns to Henry. "Is it really over?" Henry exhales. "Not yet. Richard had allies, and they won't stop." Emily clutches the flash drive. "Then we take them down next." Mia nods. Together. The night after Richard Vaughn's arrest should have brought relief. But Mia, Henry, and Emily knew better. The game was far from over. Mia lay awake, staring at the ceiling. Liam slept soundly beside her, blissfully unaware of the storm still brewing. Richard had been taken away. but his influence ran deep. His allies were still out there. In the penthouse of Vaughn Enterprises, a man stood by the window, swirling a glass of whiskey. His sharp suit and cold eyes radiated power. The door opened. A woman in a black dress stepped in, her heels clicking against the marble floor. "Richard was sloppy," she said. "Now it's our turn." The man smirked. "Henry Whitmore thinks he's won. Let's show him how wrong he is." Mia jolted awake at the sound of her phone buzzing. The number was unknown. Her hands trembled as she answered. "Hello." A smooth, confident voice replied. "Mia Thompson, you've been playing a dangerous game." Her throat tightened. "Who is this?" A chuckle. "Let's just say I'm someone who cleans up Richard's messes. You took him out, but you have no idea what you started." Mia glanced at Henry, who was already awake, listening. "We're not afraid of you." The voice darkened. "You should be. Walk away, Mia, or you won't live long enough to regret it." Henry took the phone. "Whoever you are, I'm not running." The line went dead. Emily frowned. "We need to find out who's behind this." Richard had allies, and they're stepping in. Mia clenched her fists. "Then we hit first. We take the fight to them." Daniel sat across from them, tapping his fingers on the table. "Vaughn's empire is in chaos. His people are scrambling, but someone's pulling the strings. We need to find out who." Emily slid a laptop across the table. "I found something. Offshore accounts. Connections to someone named Victor Langston. He's been quietly expanding his control. And now he's after us." Daniel's jaw tightened. "Langston's worse than Vaughn. He doesn't just want power. He enjoys the game." Mia folded her arms. "Then we end the game. Before it begins." A dark alley. A briefcase exchange. A man in a suit steps forward. Mia, Henry, and Daniel watch from a distance. "That's Langston's top lieutenant," Daniel mutters. "If we follow him, we'll find Langston." As they prepare to move, a gunshot rings out. Chaos erupts. The deal was a setup. Men scatter as armed guards swarm in. Mia grabs Henry's arm. "We have to go now." Daniel fires back, covering their retreat. This just got a lot more complicated. Panting, they slam the door behind them. Emily types furiously on her laptop. "They were ready for us. Langston knew we were coming." Henry's eyes darken. "Then we stop playing by his rules." Mia exhales. It's time to take the fight to him. The walls of the safe house felt like they were closing in. Outside, the city moved as if nothing had changed, but Mia, Henry, and their allies knew better. Victor Langston had declared war, and they were in the middle of it. Mia sat across from Emily, watching her fingers fly across the keyboard. "Langston knew we were coming. We need to stay ahead of him." Emily frowned. "I've managed to breach some of his encrypted files. He's laundering money through multiple shell companies. If we expose that, we'll cut off his funding." Daniel leaned against the wall, arms crossed. "That's not enough. Langston doesn't just rely on money. He has people everywhere. Corrupt officials, private security, and hired guns." Henry exhaled. "Then we take out his network piece by piece. We make him vulnerable." Mia clenched her jaw. "And we start tonight." A dimly lit warehouse on the outskirts of town. Langston's men stood guard, unaware of the figures moving in the shadows. Daniel whispered into his earpiece. "Emily, are the security feeds looped?" Her voice crackled through. "You're clear. Move fast." Mia and Henry crept forward, ducking behind stacks of crates. Henry pointed to a man speaking into a radio. "That's Langston's chief logistics officer. If we take him, we get intel." Mia nodded. They moved like ghosts, closing in. Within moments, the man was subdued, unconscious on the ground. Henry searched his pockets and pulled out a phone. "Let's see what secrets you have." Emily's voice came through again. "Guys, we have a problem. Someone's watching us." Mia's heart pounded. "Who?" I don't know, but they just pinged this location. You need to get out. Now. Gunshots rang out. The warehouse erupted in chaos. Langston's men had found them. Daniel fired back, covering their retreat. We're exposed. Get to the car. Mia grabbed Henry's hand, sprinting towards the exit. Crates splintered as bullets tore through them. The SUV roared to life as Emily shouted, "Move! Move!" Tires screeched as they sped away. The city lights blurred past them. Henry glanced at the phone they had stolen. We got what we needed. Langston won't see this coming. Victor Langston sat in his penthouse, sipping a glass of wine. A man in a dark suit stood before him, expression grim. They hit our warehouse. Took the logistics chief. Langston swirled his glass. Henry Whitmore is becoming a nuisance. The man hesitated. What are your orders? Langston's lips curled into a smirk. We remind them who owns the city. Find them. Burn their safe house to the ground. Mia, Henry, and the team sat in the safe house, analyzing the stolen data. Emily's eyes widened. This isn't just about money. Langston is running something bigger. Arms deals, human trafficking. He's deeper than we thought. Henry clenched his fists. Then we take him down for good. The lights flickered. The ground trembled. Daniel's voice was sharp. Move. It's a bomb. An explosion ripped through the air. The explosion shook the safe house, throwing Mia, Henry, and their allies to the ground. Smoke filled the air as fire spread rapidly. The walls groaned, ready to collapse at any moment. Mia coughed, pulling herself up through the haze. She saw Henry helping Emily to her feet. Daniel groaned, clutching his arm, blood seeping through his sleeve. We have to get out, Henry shouted, his voice barely cutting through the alarm blaring in the background. Mia grabbed Liam, who was sobbing in confusion. It's okay, baby. We're going now. The team stumbled through the smoke toward the emergency exit. Just as they reached the back door, another explosion erupted, sending debris crashing down behind them. They barely made it out in time. Flames lit up the night sky as they watched their safe house burn to the ground. Sirens wailed in the distance, but they couldn't stay. Daniel leaned against the wall, wincing. That was no warning. Langston just declared war. Emily tapped furiously on her tablet. They remotely detonated it. But I still have the data we pulled from the warehouse. If we move fast, we can hit them before they come after us again. Henry gritted his teeth. We need a new base. Somewhere Langston doesn't know about. Mia swallowed hard, thinking. I know a place. It's not much, but it's safe. They arrived at the rundown cabin just before dawn. It was hidden deep in the woods, forgotten by time. Inside, dust covered every surface, but it would have to do. Mia set Liam down on an old couch, brushing hair from his face. We'll be okay, baby. I promise. Henry turned to Daniel. We have to go on the offensive. Daniel nodded. Agreed. We don't just survive, we hit back. Victor Langston stood in his office, watching the fire on the news. A woman in a sleek suit entered, handing him a folder. They escaped. Langston's jaw tightened. Then find them again. And this time, don't let them walk away. The woman smirked. We have an informant. They won't see it coming. Emily's eyes narrowed at her screen. We have just enough information to track Langston's next move. There's a shipment, big money, high security. If we intercept it, we'll expose him. Henry looked at Mia. This is dangerous. You don't have to do this. Mia squared her shoulders. Yes, I do. I won't run anymore. Daniel cracked his knuckles. Then let's make Langston regret ever coming after us. The night stretched on, the air thick with anticipation. Inside the cabin, the team finalized their strategy. This wasn't just about survival anymore. This was war. Mia examined the blueprint Emily had pulled up on her laptop. Langston's shipment is moving through an old industrial dock. Security will be tight. Daniel nodded. We'll have to hit fast and hard. Disrupt the operation before they even know what's happening. Henry glanced at Mia. Are you sure about this? Once we make our move, there's no turning back. Mia met his gaze, determination blazing in her eyes. I've never been more sure. Langston came for my family. Now, we end this. A thick mist rolled over the docks as Langston's men patrolled the perimeter, their flashlights cutting through the fog. The sound of distant waves masked the soft footfalls of Mia and her team as they moved into position. Emily's voice crackled through their earpieces. Cameras disabled. You're clear to move. Daniel signaled. Go. In perfect coordination, they struck. Daniel and Henry took out the guards at the gate. Mia moved toward the main cargo area, planting a small explosive on one of the shipping containers. Henry caught sight of Langston's lieutenant, the woman who had smirked in his office. She was issuing orders, unaware of their presence, until it was too late. Mia raised her weapon. Step away from the shipment. Now. The woman turned, smiling. Well, look who finally stopped running. Mia tightened her grip. Not running, just ending this. Gunfire exploded through the docks as Langston's men fought back. The air filled with smoke and shouts, shadows darting between steel crates. Emily's voice came through, tense. We've got company. Reinforcements inbound. Henry grabbed Mia's hand. We have to move. Mia hesitated. Not yet. We need that proof. She sprinted toward a truck filled with documents and cash. She grabbed a bag, stuffing it full of files before dashing back. Just as she reached Henry, the ground trembled. An explosion erupted from the docks, sending fire and debris into the night sky. Daniel peeled away in a stolen truck, tires screeching. Henry, Mia, and Emily piled in as bullets whizzed past. Mia clutched the bag of evidence. We got what we came for. Now, let's take Langston down for good. Langston watched the flames from his penthouse window, fingers tapping on his desk. His face was unreadable. The woman stepped in, bruised but standing. They hit us hard, and they got the files. Langston smirked. Then it's time we play our trump card. As the team sped away from the burning docks, Mia clutched the bag of files like a lifeline. They had what they needed to expose Langston, but they also knew he wouldn't go down without a fight. Emily spread the stolen documents across the wooden table, her eyes scanning rapidly. This is bigger than we thought. Offshore accounts, bribes, government contracts. Langston's reach extends deep. Daniel shook his head. We need a way to release this without putting a target on our backs. If he finds us before we go public, we're done. Mia's grip tightened on her coffee mug. We can't sit on this. He'll retaliate soon. We have to act first. Henry paced by the window, watching the rain streak down the glass. There's one place that might help, an old journalist friend of mine. He's not afraid of powerful enemies. If we get this to him, the whole world will know. Emily nodded. Then let's move fast. The team arrived at a dimly lit diner on the city outskirts. Inside, a man in his 50s sat at a corner booth, his sharp eyes scanning their approach. Henry shook his hand. James Carter. It's been a while. James nodded, glancing at the files Mia placed on the table. If this is what I think it is, you've got a bombshell. But Langston won't let this go unanswered. Are you ready for that? Mia's voice was firm. We're ready. James sighed, flipping through the documents. I'll need time to verify and compile this. But once it's out, there's no taking it back. Daniel leaned in. Do it. We'll handle Langston. At Langston's penthouse, the air was thick with tension. The woman, his lieutenant, handed him a tablet. They made contact with James Carter. He's preparing to go public. Langston's smirk faded. Then it's time to remind them who they're dealing with. If they want war, let's give it to them. He turned to a group of his men. Find their hideout. Finish this. No more games. The night was eerily quiet when Mia heard the sound, gravel crunching under tires. Her stomach dropped. Daniel grabbed his gun. They're here. Bullets shattered the windows as masked men swarmed the cabin. The team dove for cover, returning fire. Liam screamed as Mia shielded him behind an overturned table. Henry pulled Mia toward the back exit. We have to get out. Emily's voice rang through the chaos. They're blocking every way out. Mia's mind raced. Then we fight. No more running. Smoke filled the air as the gunfight intensified. Daniel took down 2 of Langston's men, but more poured in. Henry fought beside Mia. Their movements synchronized as they pushed forward. Emily managed to get to her laptop, fingers flying. If I can override their comms, I can disrupt their coordination. Langston's men hesitated, their earpieces buzzing with static. It was the opening they needed. Mia lunged forward, taking down one of the attackers with a swift blow. Henry disarmed another. Daniel fired the final shot that sent the last of them fleeing. Silence fell over the cabin, broken only by their heavy breathing. Mia held Liam close, whispering, "It's over." Henry met her eyes. "No, it's just beginning." James Carter's article was published at dawn. Langston's empire was exposed to the world. Headlines screamed corruption, illegal dealings, and secret offshore accounts. Law enforcement moved in. Langston, however, was nowhere to be found. Emily scanned multiple news feeds. No arrests yet. He's still out there. Mia exhaled. Then we end this once and for all. Langston had vanished like a shadow, slipping through the cracks of justice. His empire lay in ruins, but his reach still extended into the depths of the criminal underworld. Mia and her team knew they had won a battle, but the war was far from over. The morning sun filtered through the broken windows of the cabin. The place bore the scars of the previous night's attack. Bullet holes in the walls, shattered glass on the floor, and the scent of smoke still lingering in the air. Emily tapped away at her laptop, her brow furrowed. Langston's resources are dwindling, but he's not done. There's one last stronghold, an estate outside the city, heavily guarded. If we take it, we take him. Daniel checked his weapon. That's where he's hiding. We go in, we finish this. Mia glanced at Liam, still asleep on the couch, curled up in a blanket. She crouched beside him, stroking his hair gently. "I won't let him grow up with this fear," she whispered. "It ends tonight." Henry placed a reassuring hand on her shoulder. "Then let's end it together." A sprawling mansion loomed before them, surrounded by high walls and armed guards patrolling the perimeter. Spotlights scanned the area as black SUVs stood ready at the entrance. Daniel positioned himself behind a tree, speaking into his earpiece. "We take the power grid first. Emily, are you in?" Emily's voice crackled through, already bypassing security feeds. "In 3, 2, 1, done. Lights are out. Go!" Mia, Henry, and Daniel moved swiftly under the cover of darkness. A guard turned, barely having time to react before Daniel knocked him unconscious. Mia grabbed a set of keys from his belt and motioned toward the mansion's back entrance. Inside, the halls were eerily silent. Langston's empire had fallen, but he still held power in the shadows. Then, a voice echoed from the grand staircase. "I was wondering when you'd come." Langston emerged from the shadows, his signature smirk unwavering. "You've been a thorn in my side for too long, Mia. But it's over now. You're outnumbered." Doors burst open, and armed men filled the room. Mia's heart pounded. Not this time. Henry raised his weapon. "You're done, Langston. It's over." Langston chuckled. "Over? You think you won? This city will always belong to men like me. You're just an inconvenience." Daniel fired the first shot. Chaos erupted. Bullets flew as the team took cover behind marble pillars. Mia ducked and returned fire, her pulse steady. Henry tackled one of Langston's men, taking him down with a swift punch. Emily's voice came through the earpiece. Reinforcements are coming. We need to end this now. Mia spotted Langston slipping away through a hidden passage. He's running. She chased after him, down a dark corridor, her breath ragged. Langston stumbled, reaching for a hidden pistol. But Mia was faster. She kicked it away, pinning him against the wall. "It's over," she growled. Langston sneered. "You don't have the guts." Mia's finger hovered over the trigger, but instead of pulling it, she stepped back. "No," but the law does. Sirens wailed in the distance. Police flooded the mansion. Langston's expression twisted in rage as he was handcuffed and dragged away. Dawn broke over the city. The nightmare was finally over. Langston's empire had crumbled, and Mia could finally breathe again. Emily shut her laptop. Langston's assets are frozen. He has nowhere to run. Daniel exhaled. "It's done." Mia scooped Liam into her arms, holding him close. "We're safe now." Henry smiled at her. "You did it." She met his gaze. "No, we did." As the sun rose over the city, a new chapter began. One without fear. One filled with hope.